Hi friends, and welcome back to my garden. Do you think your garden is too small for a path? Even a small path creates curiosity and makes a person want to explore. Today I want to show you a small path that I've created in my garden and continue to work on. So as you walk, well, the other day I shared with you this side of my garden path up to my front door. Today is on the right-hand side, and as you walk up, I don't know if you can see the path yet, but it's there. Down below, there is some Angelina stonecrop, which was on the other side of the garden path. There is some mondo grass. To the right of the angel is hyssop, which I think the flowers are about done and spent. They're ready to be cleaned off of that little shrub. Over here is one of my favorite flowers again, the Peruvian lily. It took me a while to find multiples of these to plant in the garden. I just love the colors inside. Back over here is some more mondo grass, but this is a dwarf version. It stays the size you see it now. It will just spread and hopefully fill in this area. And the first time this year I've planted some begonias. And the ones that are doing very well are the ones that I planted once and didn't move. A couple over here I had to transplant, and it kind of put them in a little bit of a shock. The color on those are super pretty too. The green variation and the pink coral tones. Then you walk around the corner here on the path. Actually, let me say, the path, the stones are Arizona rose. And those are not very thick stones, maybe an inch, inch and a half. And so what I did is I just dug them down and tried to level them as I go. The first time I installed them, I actually put them in with larger spacing, and the soil was on the rocks so much more, so then I put them closer together. So this little stone path has been redone a couple times. As I walk over here, these are Coreopsis Tickseed. They provide color all summer long. They're a beautiful little flower and pop of color in the garden. They are a bit of maintenance because, as you can see, the flowers get spent and you need to pop them off and deadhead. So you're doing quite a bit of deadheading on this plant. But they do pop off pretty easy if you get them in time. Here is coneflower, echinacea. This I've just left in the pot until I decide where I want to put it in the garden. One thing that I did put in just maybe a month ago is the Bobo Hydrangea. I have not had any of these. I made a mistake of watering over the top after a late morning, and it did get some little crispy edges. But otherwise, they've been doing fantastic in this spot that I put them in, which gets great deal sun. In here, I've planted dianthus. These grow about 8 inches tall, and they like a lot more sun. This little pocket area gets quite a bit of sun as the sun transitions over. So it's been kind of a tricky area to figure out what to plant here. The germander behind it is a first for me. It gets purple flowers and it gets about 2 foot tall. So I'm excited to see how well that does in this little space. Then I have the Nandina Nana in a grouping, and they get a great fall color. So they turn variations of green, and they do get a little bit of a burnt edge if I make a mistake and put water on top of them again. I need to watch that more carefully. but in the fall they turn variations of pinks and reds. I added some more mondo grass in here, and these little guys over here, pulmonaria. I thought this area got enough shade, but obviously it's not working out so well. So here's another trial and error that's not going to work for this spot. So I have to rethink what I'm going to put there. And if I back away, I can show you that is the green shrub is a dwarf Alberta spruce. That came from a gallon pot, and it was about maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot tall when I planted it. And it's been in the ground for about 5 years. It does struggle a little bit from the triple digits here, and I have to make sure it gets adequate water. But as you can see, I do have some new growth here, even though there's a little bit of burn on it. It tends to fill back in. Behind that, I planted a Carolina jessamine, which blossoms yellow flowers. The blossoms are not long, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a little bit longer. It just seems like a short period of time. And I repurposed an old pergola, the 4 corners. I took 2 of them and zip tied them together for a trellis to support that vine. It's worked out really well, and I was glad to use something that I could repurpose. Above this, I have a Japanese maple, which I bought. Let me back away here. I think I bought the smallest version you could buy for $20. And that's the growth it's gotten over a period of 5 years. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm going to walk back down the path and turn around. Whoops. On this side, I have golf ball pittosporum. Those are an evergreen, and they stay in that shape, so they're very low maintenance once you get them in the ground. You just have to be sure that you put them in an area that gets adequate shade and not a lot of sun. I learned my lesson from that, and they were in full sun, which the nurseryman said they would do well in, and they didn't, and I had to transplant them. And during the transplant, I lost one of the 3, and so I had to buy a replacement. That one has been in the ground for a year and a half, and so it's going to catch up with the rest. But it's literally one of my favorite shrubs if I have the right space for it. There's a hosta. This one has been in the ground for a couple years. It took a little while to get some growth on it. And then surprisingly enough, these little cool weather flowers are one of my favorites, and they should not be surviving so well out here in the triple digits, but they must love this little corner, which gets adequate shade for them and enough moisture. So they reseed themselves a lot through here, which I'm happy with. Then I have a boxwood here. That I had to battle spider mites. Next to some of the self-seeding violas and pansies are more begonias and dichondra. I love the little color of the dichondra and the begonias here. I'm hoping the dichondra doesn't become invasive. It's a first for me, but I wanted to add some green in here and help with the soil erosion. Let me turn around back here and let you see what this little garden path looks like as you enter from the sidewalk. Again, if you span around, you see my front door. And this was the garden that I shared with you in my first video. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed my garden. Please like and subscribe.
Please drop a comment about a path you have or might be adding. I'd love to hear about it.